to tonight's show of Let's Talk About Ice. Yes, we're live from the Gold Coast. You have one. We're not in Coffs Harbour or WA. So thank you so much for tuning in. Before we get on with the show, I want to ask you, please, if you are listening to this for the first time or it's your fifth time or 1,000th time watching the show, I need you to share this. It's critical that we raise awareness about the dangers of this drug, ice, and we can only do that with your help. So click the share button on your screen right now, and I'll wait a second while you do that. And I want to thank you beforehand that you're doing that, because you're being part of the change. You're being part of raising awareness and helping us put the freeze on ice in our nation. So press share right now. Yep. I thank you in advance. Yeah. So it is critical that we get this message out, guys. If we're going to put a blanket over it, more lives are going to be destroyed. We really need to share, and just really highlight the truth about ice. So without any further ado, I want to introduce our guest on the show. We are absolutely blessed to have her with us today. She has an incredible story and a journey that, I'm not keen to hear about, but it needs to be spoken about. And my heart goes out to this lady, and she's been so brave to be able to come on the show tonight and share with you about Rory's story. And we do this, guys, so that you can understand that this drug is not a joke. This drug is killing, stealing, and destroying lives out there. And you, not even once is our message. So please get that. It's not worth it. And if you're entrapped in this world of ice world, we want to help you out. We want to walk with you. We want to extend our hand and say, hey, you don't need to be there. Somebody might have shared this video with you. You might have got wind of it. Now's the time to act, okay? Private message us. We are here to support you. We're here to walk with you, yeah? People that have been there. And so I urge you, have a listen to this story. And guys, please reach out for help. The number to call is 1-800-NO-TO-ICE. Ree will put that on the bottom of the screen. 1-800-NO-TO-ICE. You can reach out for help anytime, okay? We're always online. So please write that number down. Without further ado, I'd just like to welcome you, Debbie. Thank you so much for being on the show and wanting to share, because it's such a it's a topic that is very sensitive and it's really raw, and you know it's going to touch a lot of lives tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to tell my story, Andrea. Thank you.
So, Debbie, tell me about your family unit, and let's go back before we introduce Rory into the picture, and we do want to talk about your son. Let's go back and tell me what your family was like.
I was an alcoholic. You mean my family itself, or my children and me?
Wherever you want to start.
Yeah, well, I'll start with me, because I think that's where it all started, you know. And I was an alcoholic who was trying to get sober.
Yep.
So I'd spend a lot of time trying to get over my alcoholism, but in the process, I was bringing up my children. Mm-hmm. So there were a lot of times that I wasn't well, and my children suffered for that, you know. So Rory had a predisposition, you know, with what he had learned through me and my absence in his life. And so my life wasn't ideal, mm-hmm. you know, and I was a young woman when I had children. So I learned as I went on, you know, and I struggled with it too, you know. I struggled with my addiction. And then when Rory was born, you know, when I had 4 children, and then when every child was born, I wanted to be sober and clean for my children, you know, but even the love of my children, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But my son worked in the shearing sheds when he was very young. He was only 12. And he was a man way before he was meant to be, you know, and and he was introduced to speed in the shearing sheds because it helped him work hard, earn a lot of money, and he was young. But because he did have a history with substance abuse, he was in that circle. And of course, ICE came on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment that he started taking that was his downfall from that moment on, and he was only in his early 20s when that began. And he battled with that for 10 years.
Wow.
Nearly 10 years. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, Debbie. Your other siblings, were they also dabbling in drugs?
My elder sister is in recovery.
Yeah.
5 members of my family have all been to the same rehab.
Yep.
They've all dealt. ICE itself has touched my family, a niece, a nephew, my other son, my youngest son as well.
Yeah.
So it's been around me and my family for quite some time,
Yeah.
So it's not just Rory's story, but it's been around me for a while.
Yeah, yeah. And so how did your family unit function with all of this going on? Like, did you had other kids? You said you had 4 kids. Were they also using drugs? How did it look? How did your days look?
Well, my first 2 children were actually kidnapped by their father, and I didn't see them for 10 years. So I didn't know them for a long time, but when the eldest boy came back into my life, he already had an addiction to marijuana, which then graduated to heroin.
Wow.
And so there was a history of abuse in my little family, and my siblings and my mother, and they did what they thought was the right thing and tough love.
Yeah.
But in actual fact, they were put in the too hard basket, It was too hard for them. They didn't know how to deal with these children in addiction.
Yeah.
Especially the ICE, because it was no way that Rory could hide that that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
So they ran away from me. And they ran away from Rory. And I understand why, because if you don't understand it, it can be very scary.
Yeah.
His behaviour was irrational. He could look aggressive when he wasn't even being aggressive, like it was just, so it was basically me and my boys, and then 9 years ago, as I said, I found recovery myself. And I'd actually been in recovery with Rory, and we've been to meetings together, and and so I know that's what he wanted, but had it been any other drug, maybe he could have made it, but not this drug.
Debbie, people think I'm joking when I say 2% of people out of 100 people that become entrapped in ICE world, only 2% will come out. They think that I'm joking when I say that. People say, oh, that's not some, the health, and the stigma, the talk out there is that, people can recover. It's like it's just off a duck's back. It's actually not. And it's only 2%. And it's very, and I often share, it was touch and go for me. I was suicidal. I was like pushing up, uphill. It's extremely difficult. It's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. But
Oh, sorry. Oh, look.
Lost Debbie's picture.
Hang on, there we go. Sorry, darling.
That's all right. But it is a small percentage of people that get to come out of that world,
Oh,
it is.
He tried. He had a son that he followed all around Australia. Every time his ex-partner moved with his child, even in his madness, he would follow that child.
Yeah.
and he would try to get clean, and he would try to do that, you know.
Yeah.
But that drug is harder than anything, you know. As I said, I'm 60-year-old and I've been around, and you know, I've never seen anything due to the damage that this thing can do in such a short time, you know.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's just,
absolutely.
you know, like I saw him go from this intelligent, loving, caring man to this paranoid.
Yeah,
He would follow me around the house and he would talk to me about the Illuminati, you know, and it'd be that paranoid and yeah, just that. Yeah, it was really hard to watch and it was really hard to be around, but I just thought, what else do I do?
yeah, yeah. What do you do? I mean, you had now stepped into recovery yourself, and knew how to step into that from a perspective of alcohol and other drugs, but from ice, it's a totally different angle. Hey, ice is explained, well, methamphetamine is explained as, like no other drug. In the National Task Force report, it says, methamphetamine is like no other drug because of what it does to the frontal lobe. It hijacks your brain, and the person entrapped in that world is not able to think logic, rational decisions and be able to take control of their own behavior. I think we've lost Debbie. I think we've lost signal with Debbie. Guys, I think we've lost signal with Debbie. We're going to try and reconnect. So just give me 1 second. V's trying to fix that. Do we lose it? Yeah. It's still recording, so this story is a really sad outcome, but it's the realities of of where this drug can lead you and can lead a person's life. And obviously with Debbie, she fought her own demons, and she tried to help fight her son, help him fight as well, but unfortunately he didn't make it. So we're trying to reconnect.
Is that better?
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's all right. So let's go back. Let's go back to where were we? We're on the topic of the only 2 out of 100 people entrapped in ice addiction, only 2 get out. And unfortunately, the system out there is trying to say, it's easy to get clean. Recovery is possible. Recovery is possible. It's possible, but unlikely with ice. The National Task Force report states that it's like no other drug, because of it hijacks the frontal lobe, not enabling the person to make logic, rational decisions. And the dopamine doesn't come back for 12 to 18 months. That chemical in the brain, if you're not feeling good, you just want to use or get out of that horrid place. So it's this mad cycle. I feel for Rory, because he could have, but I feel for him. I've been there, I've been entrapped in that world myself, and I know sometimes it just seemed easier to opt.
Well, it did for him. It did for him because he didn't want that for his son. His son was turning into a teenager and he didn't want to see that, and he spent his entire time using ice, not wanting to use ice.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't a pleasant experience. It was all downhill, and for some reason, ice seems to attack every deepest, darkest, horrible thought that you've ever had and brings it here,
Yeah.
And I only knew snippets of what was going on through his mind. I'd hate to think what was going on in his mind that I didn't hear and I didn't see. And watching him not being able to sit still and not being able to, And I think the worst part of this drug too is the fact that these poor people think they are doing okay.
Yeah, that's right.
The delusion that they are going to be, that they're pulling it off, nobody knows they're using it, you know?
Yeah, they think that when you're using, you think nobody else can see it, and that you're the only one that's really aware and alert of everything that's going on, you know?
And that you're okay.
Yeah.
You know, that what you're doing is okay, you know? And how many times that boy would look at me and try to pretend to yawn, you know, or he'd, he'd say, yes, I'm hungry, and then he'd sit there and have little nibbles, you know, all this behaviour to try and pretend that he wasn't using, you know, and it was just, yeah, and he had that year of recovery, and I lived with him, and I was in recovery, and I watched him blossom, you know, and I watched him put on weight and connect with his children, and he had one relapse, and he didn't come back from it. You know, that was the longest time he'd ever had, but I was there, and we were having a relationship that we'd never had before, so it was lovely, and he had my support, and I helped him with children, and, you know. And then when he relapsed, it just got him again from this man that was happily at home with his family and learning a new way of life, you know, and he has one go at it, one puff or one needle, and he was gone again, you know, and he never returned from that. He never came back from that. And I watched him try so hard to come back. He had so much to come back for.
Yeah.
And he couldn't do it. And it's not because he didn't want to. And that's the thing that people need to understand, that these people using ice, they don't, by Rory's stage, they don't want, you know, maybe at the beginning and they're functioning and everything's, you know, they haven't lost anything yet, or they're, you know, they're still keeping it pretty hidden, and, you know, but that doesn't last for long.
That's right.
And then, you know, it turns them straight into madness at the moment that it's in their system.
Yeah.
You know?
It really is like it tips over the edge, you know, like you think, you know, you're using, and initially it feels great, and then it's a facade. It's like the devil in disguise, you know. It's like, come this way, and then you take it, and that's it, man, bang. You know, it really like destroys you, you know, and it's
the great remover.
It's a what?
The great remover. It's the great remover.
Yeah.
It gives you all this stuff. It gives you confidence and think you can move mountains, and you're having these wonderful thoughts in your head, you know, like, and then after using it for a long time and becoming addicted to it and the lifestyle and everything, you know, it's like, it takes it all away.
Yeah.
It takes everything away.
It's a facade, it's a lie, and we've got to expose that lie. We've got to expose the truth about this drug, and it's coming in disguise to steal, kill, and destroy lives. But it's really only the beginning. You know, it gives you the pretty stuff in the beginning, but bang, and then it comes in and it destroys you. Tell me about when you first found out, like, that Rory was using ice. There were other drugs before that, and how? What did you do? Like, did you have that conversation? Like, did you reach out for help? Like,
not at that time, because I wasn't in recovery either.
Yeah.
So I was turning a blind eye and not looking for the signs because I was too busy in my own addiction. So I didn't really see it. He drank a lot, I knew that, and he wasn't very pleasant on the alcohol. But then one day he was having a shower, and the shower was off, so I've just walked into the bathroom, and he was injecting when I walked into the room, and he's just slammed the door shut. But in my mind it was speed again, because I didn't know much about ice in the time, you know, and I'd used that in my past and knew that it's not good, no drug's good, but he would have been able to get off that and, you know, learn. So I didn't like it, and because I was in my own recovery and in my own addiction, I was in my own head and took no notice. But he came, I knew it was happening, you know, like he would go away and then he'd come home and thinking that he was going to get it together again, and he'd go off and he'd never use it in front of me or in my home. I mean, he left paraphernalia around all the time, but he would go away and he would come home when he had no more money and he'd been awake for a week, and he hadn't eaten and he was as scattered as, and he would sleep for 3 or 4 days and he would just eat. And, one day he had a seizure in my kitchen when he was coming down, and I was in early recovery. And it was really hard for me to watch him go through that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to deal with it. As a mother, what do you do when you can see your child doing something like that, And he wouldn't talk to me about it because of my own recovery. It was taboo for me to talk to him about recovery, He'd been there, he'd done that, leave me alone,
Yeah.
There was no way we could have a proper conversation because he was either on it or he was asleep.
Yeah.
And just that cycle, So there's no way. And I screamed at him one day and that just didn't work either, So it's like, you can't talk to them. You can't have rational conversations with them, And so I went from being in denial to enabling in the fact that I would feed him and give him somewhere to sleep, and and if he was stranded somewhere, I'd give him money, and that sort of thing. And part of me knew that probably wasn't the right thing to do either, but as there is nothing as a mother that I could do.
Yeah. I mean, that's your kid. You don't want to see them hurting. You don't want to see them going without food or, and it's a natural instinct for a mother to want to fix the problem, the impact of that, of what was going on. And the initial impact was that he was hungry. It was that he had nowhere to sleep, or he had, to pay a bill or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, he'd ring me up and he'd be coming down and he would be suicidal and, stuck somewhere with no money, and I'd have to race around and borrow money and try to get it to him. And my other family members were all like, don't do it. He's a big boy, let him do what he's got to do, and, like tough love, push him away. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that because I knew inside there my son was in there.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
He wasn't an evil person. He was a good man that was destroyed by this terrible, terrible drug.
Yeah.
So I decided in my wisdom to just love him.
Yeah.
To just love him, And now that he's taken his own life, I am so glad I didn't do tough love and push him away. And, I was able to still have a relationship with that man in his addiction.
Yeah.
Because I just knew what was going on for him.
Yeah.
And I just had to remember my son the way he used to be and deal with it. And, but I must admit, I always thought he would get through this. I really did.
Yeah.
Because as a mother with 2 children on ice, going to bed at night can sometimes be very scary.
Yeah.
Not knowing whether I would get that call.
Yeah.
In the last 12 months of Rory's life, I used to put the phone on silent because I didn't want to be woken up to the call. I mean, it rationally didn't make sense because you'd still get it in the morning, but I didn't want that sensation of being woken up with that. But that's what happened. That's what happened. So, thinking of Rory passing away wasn't something it was something that crossed my mind, because you just knew that, he could put himself in dangerous situations. Anything could have happened, and yeah, he's sorry, I just lost my train of thought for a moment, but
That's okay. Um, I can't understand what. I have two daughters of my own, and they have never been in addiction like I have. But as you know, I can understand where Rory was, and we talk to a lot of families, a lot of mums and dads ring up, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I've tried talking to him about recovery, or I've tried loving him, and I've tried the hard love thing. I don't know what to do, so and you can't. There's nothing that you can do. The person, it's a battle within that they need to get over, on top of, and partially it's physical. We're a three-part being. We're spirit, soul, and body. And if we don't look at the holistic approach to recovery and engage in programs and stuff that are going to address all areas, we're going to have a weak link, okay? Because if we think that we can just heal the body and abstain from using drugs, that's not enough. It's not enough. We have to work, our soul, our mind and emotions and backlog and stuff that's happened, traumas, and we have to unpack all of that, and there is a spiritual element. We're a spiritual being in a body. We have to look at that holistically to try and even get a chance at stepping in over it and holding on to our recovery. What I have found in the 8 years that I have been doing AARC and in recovery myself, it's a small amount of people that really obtain that really get that. Otherwise, you're falling in and out of relapse until you're not, and a very small percentage make it out, and the rest end up in prison, in mental health institutes, or dead. That's the reality, because but people don't realize that, and we have to, bring this to the forefront, knowing what addiction was like, and because you came from that back, you went through that yourself, your family members went through it. One would think once you stepped into recovery, you'd have the most knowledge to help him, but you're not his savior. He had
that was the hardest part about being a mother, that I had to accept the fact that I had no control over that situation whatsoever. Nothing. And for a mother to have to accept that there's nothing you can do for your child, because your instinct is to wanting to fix it.
Yeah.
And I think once I accepted and as I said again, being in recovery, I was lucky I could understand that I could step back and see that it was the drug and not my child. And, it's that acceptance that you have no control whatsoever.
Yep.
There is no right or wrong about how to deal with these guys, because they're so unpredictable.
Yeah.
You've got to take care of yourself, of course. If you've got someone in your life that's violent and you're scared of them and they're doing things like that. My Rory wasn't like that. I mean, he came close to yelling at me and that sort of stuff, but he didn't do burglaries and he didn't go out and commit crimes, and he scammed, but he didn't he didn't go out and hurt people or anything like that. It was and people have to understand that too. Not everyone is like you see on TV either.
Yep.
That their madness can be internal.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be someone that's ranting and raving up the street, that these people are trapped in their homes.
Yep.
Because of the paranoia that comes with that.
Thank you for saying that, because I've done a lot of media, and usually they'd come to me and go, "Oh, have you got videos of you partying while you were on drugs?" I go, "You just don't understand this drug, do you? It's not like that. It's not like that you're out there, wanting to fight the world and partying and going crazy out there. That what you see on television are these people that have been, oppressed by police, ambulance, and they're in psychosis and they're fighting for their life. Yeah, so then you corner anybody, even that's not using drugs. You corner anybody fighting for their life. They will do extraordinary, crazy stuff. Yeah, scream, punch, hurt people around them when they're fighting for their lives. And this is where those people are.
Sorry, darling.
That's all right. I want to kind of go in a conversation with you about, did you get support for you through this?
Yes. Once I was in recovery myself, yes.
Yep.
I would get the support from my peers in my meetings and that stuff.
Yeah.
On occasion, I saw a psychologist.
Yeah.
But with Rory himself, I just worked on myself, and that helped me come to terms with what was happening with Rory, But to actually lose him from this drug, this stuff's going to happen, and that he's mad, but you just hope that this is not going to happen,
Yeah.
He took his life in a way that was so brutal, and it was like the hate he had for himself by the end of his addiction was he didn't think he even deserved to be on this planet.
Yeah, he was just so angry at himself for not being able to break free. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel he crossed the line in his mind that he could not come back from.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and it is like that, I remember being in that place where contemplating taking my life, and it's you're just like, I just can't do this. I just can't do it. I'm a failure, and I've failed, and I just can't get on top of it. I don't know how to. And I'm damned if I do, but if I don't, I'm damned as well. So it's like you're entrapped in this world that you can't break free from. So, that I wish that I had time to work with Rory, because I remember and I know
in recovery, that man was amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. He had a voice, and he could articulate, and he could have moved mountains, what I mean? And but he may not be move mountains in his lifetime, but I tell you, he's moving mountains right now.
Yeah. Definitely.
The loss of my son to this dreaded disease has become something that I can fight for, I want to let people know what this does to people, and the real story, the stuff that goes on in here and in here,
Yeah.
And just for the parents and the families to just let them know you're not failing. It's just, there is nothing you can do, and it's like, you just can't whip yourself and live in guilt because of it,
That's right.
And
the best thing you can do is to get as much understanding, and maybe to speak to to our team, where you can speak to somebody who's been through that cycle of addiction in ice addiction, and can explain what's going on for their loved ones, up here. Because you're right, you said something very critical before. Your son was in there. And this is what we say to the families we work with. Your loved one is in there. They're just entrapped. It's almost like they're possessed by something. They're possessed by ice.
Oh, for sure.
That
for sure.
is taking control over them, but they're in there. So how do we help free them? Okay, one is making yourself strong. You did that. You made yourself look up boundaries and make yourself strong. What else would you advise families out there?
Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. It's like, you need to know everything about it. You need to know about your children, because behind every behaviour there's something.
Yeah.
And look past behaviour.
We can't change the outcome of people's choices, right? No. So, we're not responsible for that. And we say that in our education workshops, right? We're not responsible for the outcome, but we can speak up, right? And what we encourage to do is to give the parents as much information as they can so that they can understand the cycle of addiction and where contemplation stage happens. And that's the time that we want to have that conversation about what their life could be like, and engage one of our buddies, because we come in and we go, I've walked where you're walking, Rory, come on mate, this is what I did that worked, and this is what and you can do this too. And we give them hope and encouragement. So like you said, Rory may not be here, but his life, he's what happened in his life is impacting and going to continue to impact other people's lives to create change. And one today, I'm gonna do a call to action out there. You don't want to end up in the same place that Rory is. He could be here with us and doing life with us and helping impact lives and change people's direction, and helping support people in recovery and having a loving family, beside him. But he's not. Don't be that statistic. Don't fall into that entrapment.
That was the hardest part too. My son is one of the statistics. He's one of the statistics, and I knew that there was a possibility. I knew that, he may never, even if he stayed alive, he may never be the same man that I knew.
Yeah.
It was affecting his brain in such a way. And he was a heavy user, like he used until he had nothing left in him. So it was like full on, and so that madness just, it was so sad to watch. But we had moments.
I believe you're writing a book about it now.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping to. That's, I'd like to sit down and write my own journey.
Yeah.
But I'd like to finish it off with Rory's journey too, because it's so important that people understand that there's nothing wrong with these people. They're sad, sick people. But sick isn't even not the right word. It's that drug. It's what they're putting. It's poison. It's like they might as well be drinking Drano.
That's right, exactly. Yeah.
It's just chemicals, and it's like it's frying their brains from the moment they put it in their body.
Yeah.
And it's like people need to understand that the young ones, save our kids. I have got 7 grandchildren, and I have, and I don't want them. I want to break the cycle of addiction with them.
Yeah.
So by doing this and talking about Rory and my story, that empowers my grandchildren.
Absolutely.
And if that's all I can empower, I'm happy. Like Rory's children will grow up knowing that what their father did wasn't because he didn't love them.
No.
It was because of that terrible, terrible drug.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't want that to be, to be everyone else's story as well. We want to try and stop, like Rory's kids and my grandkids and other people's kids from ever touching this drug. Education from real people who have walked that and can express the truth about this drug. It's a lie. It's evil. It's horrific to be entrapped in that world, and the lifelong scars, and that I say that because it is a lifelong scars that you're left with if you come out, so I look forward to reading your book. I really do, with a sad heart, but I know that there's going to be so many nuggets in there for people to learn from. I'd be more than happy to say, if you wanted to put it in our shop, I'd love to help distribute it when you write it, because I think it's so important that families understand the impact of and the entrapment of that world, and that we really need to reach out for help. We really need to reach out for as much support as we can get along the way, earlier rather than later.
Self-care is the most important thing when you're with this, because as I said before, if you take care of yourself, then it's okay. It makes it easier to not take care of, but deal with what happens with the addictions, and to be able to strong enough to keep your boundaries up, and
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope that by me coming here today, that someone out there will be touched by Rory's story, and thank you for the offer of distributing the book. I never ever thought it any further than writing it. So yeah, thank you for that.
As we step into our calling, the different parts of the path is laid out, and we are all about providing education, providing knowledge, because, by unveiling the truth, we can then work with whatever we have left. So, we look forward to continuing our conversation, Debbie, and in the near future, hopefully, you can do some training with us and help man some of our phone lines as well, for families that are ringing for help and get understanding on what they can do. That like you said, you can't really do anything, but knowledge is a key. Having the tools ready that can help your loved ones at the time they need the crutch or the support is critical. Yeah, absolutely. Again, thank you, Debbie, for sharing your story and Rory's journey. Is there any last minute things that you want to say? Because we got families that might have loved ones in addiction watching, and we might have people that are using and trying to break that cycle of addiction. And we're going to schools too, so school kids might tap in and watch, because we encourage them to listen to the show. So there are, our category who might be watching the show. Is there anything final that you want to share?
Oh, not even once, like you say, like it's just like, I don't know, there's so many things that go through my head. It's just mainly understanding and compassion and support, and yeah, as you said, knowledge and understanding the cycle of addiction, understanding why they do the things that they do, because as a parent and as a family member, you feel the guilt, like, why can't I fix this?
Yeah.
Why can't I, or take the guilt if I'd have done this, if I'd have done that, and I think that the main thing for families have got to do is stop whipping yourself.
Yep.
Stop whipping yourself, take care of yourself, and you can't plan. You just got to take it day by day, because things change for people in using ice very quickly.
Yeah.
So that was my little beep beep.
Thank you. My advice out there to people that reach out for help. Please don't do this alone. You are not alone in this journey. There's lots of people going through this. There's no shame in it. It's not your fault, families. Everybody is responsible for their own actions. I have to take responsibility for my addiction and my actions or lack of action at that time. And we all are responsible for our own action. What we can do is speak up and speak truth and be there to love on that person, remind them who they really are, and encourage them in reaching out for help. So Debbie,
one more thing. Can I just say one more thing? Sorry. More programs that are focused on ice. Like, you've got detoxes and rehabs that deal with marijuana and alcohol. It's a whole different ball game. They need a whole separate program, So that's something that needs to happen as well. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much. It was lovely to meet you.
Our last vision, our main vision later on, is to open a ice-specific rehab, specifically targeted, prevention, education, but down the track, when we become funded, is to open an ice-specific rehab. That's our heart. Because you need to understand it's different to any other drug. So Debbie, thank you so much for joining us. God bless you. Please look after yourself and please keep in touch. We look forward to hearing seeing that book.
I'll talk to you probably Thursday night. I'll jump on when you're live.
Awesome.
All right then. Take care, guys.
God bless.
Bye.